I ask for the truth on behalf of Paula Dion Morgan concerning career issues. And I ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the crow, the carrier of souls from darkness into light. And we just get the cards here, and we'll deal out 3 cards. The first card we'll deal is in the position of the recent past. This is a period of time between now and this time next month. I usually say a moon phase behind there, Paula. So let's see what's where Paula is right now and at present there, and then of course we'll find out where you'll be in the immediate future. A moon phase in front, about 3 or 4 weeks or so ahead, whereas this is 3 or 4 weeks behind. Let's see where you were then. We'll just pull out this card here and we'll just rotate it, and we'll just nice and slow now, not to disturb its energy, and let's just see what's been going on from a career point of view, because for as much as you've asked for a reading, we get the card in the recent past, which of course is what energy is vibrating in your recent past, but it's vibrating in accordance to the question that you asked. So from a career point of view, you could say you've got the 9 of Swords. Crowley calls the 9 of Swords the Lord of Cruelty. The Lord of Cruelty. Yes, I suppose to some degree things haven't been treating you too good from that point of view. Maybe I suppose that's one of the reasons you've asked for a reading. Well, let's just though investigate what this is about. Well, of course, maybe you feel as if you've been crucified just lately. You've been got at, been punished for something that isn't your fault, or whatever. But whatever it is, life, I suppose, in general is cruel. Notice it's the 9 of Swords, isn't it? Swords is to do with the element of air, which is, of course, to do with creative and transmissive powers and knowledge and things, as we say. So you could say, in a sense, it's the watery part of air. Why the watery part? Well, any number, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the numbers 4 to 9 are linked to the element of water, which is the watery part of air. In this case, of course, you could say mental, and because water is mental and moral qualities, then you could say mental and moral qualities of creative and transmissive powers. Of course, in this sense, somebody may have been laying down the law, may have been sort of laying down their sort of moralistics, you just hate that word, but moralistics, or their moralistic ideology on you, saying what they think is best for you or what they think is best for the world, probably, and you've been caught up in it. Why I'm getting that, I don't know. Maybe I've just got something else on my mind as well. I don't know. But either way, I'm sort of like getting this from it, where maybe from a career point of view, there are enough people who know what's best for you, but they don't seem to know what's best for themselves, which is rather a shame, isn't it? And you've been caught up in it, and they've decided to torture you, sort of get at you, and just keep going on and on and on. Not so much oppression, because that's the 10 of Wands, isn't it? But this is more just a Lord of Cruelty in the sense of anything they do, or anything you try and ask them to do, or whatever, they sort of either get at you, or even life in general has been cruel in that sense. Although 9 is the peak of magic, you wouldn't think that, would you? Really, you wouldn't really think that the peak of magic would do that. But nevertheless, of course, when things are sort of draining out, ready for the 10 of the turnaround of the 10. I always say the turnaround of the 10, a bit like the blues, and then it starts, you know, and starts and goes around again. And this is how the cycle sort of goes, isn't it? And you're sort of coming up to the end, or you're approaching the turnaround, when I suppose things have outdone the welcome, or things are just wearing out a bit, and this is where the cruelty comes in. When I suppose you see it with the fall of an empire, don't you? When everybody's got what they need, and they've got what they want, what they need, and there's nothing else to do other than to just make leisure and enjoy themselves, and every other shop is a cafe or a salon or something, and there's no actual shops that sell anything properly, as you would say. And they make slaves out of people and all this sort of thing, and they're just generally cruel to one another. Nobody knows the neighbour, and I haven't done for 10 years. I haven't known my neighbours for 10 years, actually. I knew one for about 9 years, and he's just moved. So, there you go. But it's that sort of thing where things are outdoing the welcome, and things just appear cruel, as like the fall of an empire. Maybe in a way your empire's fallen to some degree, and people have outdone the welcome, or friendships have just got a bit too strong, or too involved, I suppose, living in one another's pockets, or just getting sick of one another under each other's feet, and that sort of thing going on. And of course, people just, you don't know how they react. I think to focus on the 5 feathers here. Sometimes I tend to, and I'm not saying it has anything to do with it, but I tend to focus on the 5 wounds of Christ. Like, you got the main 4, and then of course the 5th one is where when he's down, as I've said before, when Christ is down dead after he's bled to death and been bloody tortured and everything else. For some strange reason, the guard decides to stab him in the side, centurion or soldier or whatever, just stabs him in the side just to make sure he's dead. Hello, he's dead. And if this is sort of thing with you, it's sort of, hello, I'm down, you can kick me while I'm down. Maybe that's what you've been feeling, as though you've been kicked while you're down. A bit of Gemini energy there. Maybe it could be a partner or somebody in a partnership maybe that's done it, I don't know. And while I'm just looking onto that, I don't know. It could be just me thinking that. I'm going to pull out this next card, which is your present influence. And the present influence vibrates, of course, with now. And this is the energy in your career that vibrates. And now you've got the Lovers. The Lovers is one of the major arcana cards. A major arcana cards is more permanent. It's more major in that sense, in the literal sense, and of course more important and significant. Whereas a minor arcana card, which the 9 of Swords is a minor arcana card, as we know. And with minor arcana energies, you've got the power to change things. With the cruelty, you have the power to say no or whatever. But with major arcana cards, they're more permanent, and you've got no power over them to change them in that sense. But the Lovers, of course, is, as I've said about partnerships there, notice how the twin soul energy is there as well. Of course, again, Gemini there again, look here. And it's as if, yes, you've got the twin souls. Now, do you know how I always tend to focus on this? And you get this in the Bohemian Gothic, the Bohemian Gothic tarot as well, where you've got, although the Lovers is where the woman is facing away, that the man is there with holding her hand, or where they're standing behind her, she's still nevertheless facing away, as if to say, is this really the true one, or whatever. In the sense of this one, notice this does a similar dark sort of thing, doesn't it? Where although they're together, they're facing away from one another, and you've got this sort of thing going on. Yes, there's a lot of reverence right now. Maybe there's a love affair going on, or notice the serpent there. Is that the devil tempting the lovers, or is that a priest or somebody consecrating the love affair? In this crow's magic, of course, the crow is king, isn't he? And of course, with the animal spirits, the snake is often a healer, isn't he? Because he sheds his skin and regenerates and things. And obviously, maybe there's something to do with healing going on as well. Where the Cupid points the arrow, of course, you've got the eagle there. Obviously, maybe that's to do with the high priestess as well, the energy of the high priestess, the moon goddess there, of the maiden or something, consecrating the marriage or something in that sense. Of course, that's maybe the light that shines above, isn't it? Regardless of the darkness that's below with them facing away from one another but close nevertheless, just in case, as if not too close, knowing the boundaries, knowing that harmony comes with a bit of yin and yang. And maybe that's what's been going on. It is to do with a relationship, or your marriage, or something of that nature. Of course, notice, of course, with the lovers, that card often, sometimes, if not a lot of times, depicts an important domestic decision, or just an important decision in general. And of course, that in itself could just simply be that it's just saying that you've got an important decision, domestic decision, family decision to make, and now would it being a permanent fixture there, it's part of the esoteric, the element of spirit, whereas this is the element of air, isn't it? The swords, you've got air, fire, water, earth in the elemental deck, as I call it, and 56 minor arcana, but the 22 major arcana that comes before it, which is the original esoteric tarot, that's the element of spirit, isn't it? Because there are 5 elements: air, fire, water, earth and spirit. And this sort of is towing that sort of line, isn't it? But nevertheless, with the serpent at the foot there, the earthly effect maybe is that there's healing going on. And of course, sometimes the serpent has the ability to move in cracks and crevices. Maybe the cracks and crevices of the relationship that you're in, or the situation that you're in from a career point of view, of course, which was your question. And of course that means a sly and subtle approach may be needed at this time as well. Dotting the I's, crossing the T's, but nevertheless noticing that one must follow the spirit, listen to your higher self, and that's the main thing where the light shines, is above in the crown chakra, isn't it? Let's see what is about to happen in the immediate future. If it's a negative energy, of course, it can actually be a positive energy, because forewarned is forearmed. And if a positive energy, well, it's wonderful to know it's a positive energy, but nevertheless, you can get a bit complacent. You've got a 6 of Wands. Wands is to do with the element of fire. Notice it's a minor arcana again, Sagittarius energy this time, bit of magic going on. And notice you got Bear, brother. And Bear, Johnny can talk about boundaries and things. And Bear also represents boundaries and knowing your limits and just setting boundaries really with other people. And just standing your ground really. And this, notice, he is the victor, the bear is the victor. And yes, Crowley calls the 6 of Wands the Lord of Victory. Why is that? Well, fire, of course, Wands is fire, fire is energy, spiritual essence, linked to the number 1. And of course, the 6 is analysis. Any number between 4 and 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 is to do with the element of water, which is the watery part of fire, as it is to quench the fire or something like that, I suppose. You could sort of view it that way, couldn't you, in a way? But the analysis, the 6 is the analysis, analysing energy, or analysing where you are so far from an energetic point of view, sort of analysing spiritual essence and analysing the spirit of the moment, or whatever you want to call it. Bear is there to bring victory, in the sense, that's what victory is, I suppose, isn't it? When you hold up the cup that you've won, or the trophy or whatever, you analyse it and you say, I'm here so far, before the 7 of the weakness and the challenge of the 8 again, which brings to the peak of magic of the 9, and then the turnaround of the 10, which is the physical vehicle. But we're still here in the immediate future, and your immediate future from a career point of view, of course. It brings victory in the sense of maybe nobody's saying, well, you could assume you're having a love affair with the boss and then you're going to get off and then whatever. Yes, that could be one scenario, but laughing and joking apart, of course, in a realistic world. Nevertheless, I think it is more really it is to do with your family, nevertheless. It is to do with the relationship in some way, in that sense, in some reverent energy going on. There's a major, the major part of the situation that you're in now is happening now, because it's a major card, or a significant, strong energy that's going on, is happening now. You had power to change the past with the cruelty of the past, but of course it manifests itself into the lovers, into this major decision, domestic decision that you've got to make, maybe because that's your career decision. Of course, maybe you might find yourself being a breadwinner or something, I don't know, through circumstance, I don't know. But either way, moving on forward to the next moon phase between now and this time next month, of course, next 3 or 4 weeks or so, you'll find that the spirit of bear will be there just to help you just to know your boundaries, stand your ground with people, and of course experience the victory that comes. So from a career point of view, yes, we may as well spit it out. Something good is about to happen, or you're about to win out. You're about to prove to be the winner in whatever it is. If it's an interview, then you go at 9 o'clock in the morning, or 12 o'clock in midday, or just last thing before night time, so they remember you, and then they have a chance they'll send you a letter saying come on Monday. Well, that sort of thing going on, in the sense of but bear is there, he's looking out for you, and because bear is usually the four-legged one, isn't he? Four-legged spirits, they walk the earth and they protect. So you could say there's protection as well going on in the immediate future with you there, isn't there? So with that, I think, until next time, as you would say, if we're drawn, or until the next time Spirit and wants to guide, or last time Crow decides to choose again, these cards have spoken.